Welcome to the Art of Franchise Marketing. Each episode takes a deep dive into the franchise space and explores how the biggest and best brands handle national branding, franchise development, employee recruitment, and localized marketing on a daily basis. This podcast is brought to you by NetSertive, a localized digital marketing partner for franchise networks. NetSertive's Madeleine Park talked shop with franchise executives to discuss what's working, what's not, and answers the question, what else can you be doing to excel at the art of franchise marketing?
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Art of Franchise Marketing. I am your host, Madeleine Zook, and today we have the infamous Danessa from Bio-One. Danessa is the president of Bio-One. We'll get into everything about that brand in a second. Danessa, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
I know, I feel like this was a long time coming. And Bio-One is part of 5-Star Franchising, correct?
Correct, yes.
Awesome. Okay, I just wanted to make sure because I was like, all these brands matching them up with their umbrella can get complicated. Anyways, tell me about yourself. How did you get into franchising and, eventually leading the charge for Bio-One?
Yeah, absolutely. I think more common than not for most people in franchising is they kind of fell into it accidentally, which thankfully we're finding that happens less and less, that people are intentionally getting into franchising. But I started working at then Molly Maid. I applied for an accounting assistant position. So my job was to get really good at the 10 key, and I took all the royalty reports in and I entered them into the system. Highly marketable skill set. My ability to recognize signatures was phenomenal. But other than that, it was a fun way for me to get to know franchising and to be able to kind of learn all facets of it. So I was there for about 20 years, and during that time, Molly Maid expanded and they added additional brands. And so during that time, it allowed me to wear different hats, everything from, I ended up heading up our accounting department, and then moved over to do some license administration, which is really fun, and get to understand things like the FDD and how to file in Canada, and all of the fun things that really happened. And then I got some HR experience. They kind of said, hey, everybody comes and sits in your office and tells you all their problems anyway, so why don't we just make you the head of HR? So I said, okay.
It happens to me, but they would never make me HR. Because I'm like, oh, she said what?
Well, and then it's like, oh, but now I have to tell their secrets.
Yeah.
So, but it was fun. I love working with people, and so that was just a natural fit for me. But then with that, then I moved over to operations and training, and had the opportunity to just enjoy learning and working with franchisees directly and developing training programs, and did all of that, and they added brands and with Mr. Handyman and 1-800 Dry Clean and all sorts of brands that we hear about. But it was a great, many friends, that's, I think, part of the charm of franchising is, one, we have so many different opportunities to catch up with each other. So whether you're at the same company or not, you get to see all of your friends. Right. And so some of my very best friends actually came from working there. And then I've had the opportunity to work with some other brands, like premium franchise brands, which was Jam Pro and Made Right, and the ability to create something from the ground up. It was a complete startup, kind of taking the winning model of Jan Pro and being able to then create something in the residential world. So that was fun to do, and then kind of took a little bit of a leap outside of home services, and worked with PMI Property Management Inc., which moved me out west, which I think my family was really happy about because it moved us closer to family, which is always a blessing and a curse, right? We love family, and they're wonderful, and we're also glad when they go home. Mm-hmm. So, but we did that, and then recently, just in the past 4 or 5 months, I've joined the 5-star team here at Bio1, and so it's been fun. It's a great, it's unique to be in an industry where I know very little about biohazard and crime scene and trauma cleaning, but what I know is franchising. I know how to build a brand. I know how to build a team, and I love working with franchisees. And so it is wonderful to be in an industry that allows you to be able to do that and still bring over transferable knowledge.
Sure. And I think that what you said there is great because it is part of the charm of franchising is having all of those friends that eventually turn family. So were you there when Meg Roberts was there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Meg's podcast is coming out this week, which is funny.
Oh, is she? Oh,
Yes.
that's awesome. I love Meg. Meg is amazing, and we could probably just devote a whole, hour just talking about her and her amazing skill sets and feats. But it's fun to have people like her that I can reach out to, and she does so many amazing things with, the 30 under 30 mentoring program, and it's fun to do that. It's fun to be able to be involved and support our friends and colleagues there.
100%. And I guarantee you, when you were at Molly Made or Made Right, I was the director of brands at Made Pro. So we were just, one step off, one step off. I was probably the one like, what are they doing over there? That's so good. I don't know. Like my CEO would be like, well, what's Molly Made doing? And that, they're growing. And I'm like, you want me to call them? Like, I don't. Nowadays we can, but back then I was
Right?
like, oh, who I'm supposed to call? Like,
Well,
well, that's awesome.
that is so amazing because I don't think I knew that. And
Yeah.
and we watched Made Pro. You guys did a whole rebrand, and it was
Yep.
amazing. And we watched. We're like, this is really interesting what they're doing, and they've changed their look and feel, and it's so clean, and it's that's great. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and fun fact, while I was there, I was the director of brands, and it was Made Pro, and then it was, a whole bunch of other brands, and I met my husband, who's a Made Pro franchisee, so we own a whole bunch of Made Pros now, and along with some other brands, so I was like, I hold it near and dear. Home cleaning is near and dear to my heart, as weird as that may sound,
Yep.
but I'm
Yes.
sure it is for you too.
I right here. Same.
Yeah.
Same.
So now I was telling my husband I'm so excited to hear about Bio1 because I've been following you guys forever. Tell me and specifically our listeners what Bio1 does, and then we'll kind of get into a little bit more of the nitty gritty.
Oh, absolutely. So, Bio1, we are a crime scene trauma cleaning company. And so everything from, suicide cleanup to what we call unattended deaths. So, an undiscovered body. We specialize in that. We also do like the hoarding cleans. Just kind of the cleans that require a little bit more expertise, a little bit more knowledge, and sometimes some deconstruction. And so that is kind of our bread and butter. It's a unique industry though. I mean, because we're all true crime fans. We all have listened to, and there's a lot of curiosity about it. And it was really interesting because at first when I was talking to 5-Star about it, I thought, okay, this is interesting, but I don't know how transferable my experience is here to something like this. And I don't know if I have the stomach for it, right? I mean, that is the question that most people ask themselves. And one of the interesting things that I think sometimes gets overlooked is the people aspect of it. And so, we did our franchise business review survey with our franchisees, and the thing that came back just off the charts was the satisfaction for what they do, which again, you ask a residential cleaning company, I don't know if satisfaction is that high, partly just because it's cleaning homes and cleaning toilets and things like that, but the satisfaction of being able to go in and help someone during the toughest time of an event that's going on,
Right.
and the compassion and the empathy that they get to experience in helping people is amazing. It's amazing. And so that people part of it is really quite interesting. It's a tough industry because people it's a bit sensationalized. We've all seen the videos, that are out there on YouTube, and it's not what we want to be known for. We want to be known for that empathy and that compassion, and it's reflected in the reviews we get. I was just reading on our Facebook group, one of our franchisees posted just a thank you note, and thank you notes are they do your soul good, right? I mean, when you realize you've helped someone, and you hope that during this time of grieving, this time of sadness, that they can spend time with family and mourn like they need to. And it was just a sweet note, just saying thank you so much for helping us during that time, and thank you for your compassion, thank you for your empathy, thank you for just being the ones that we could count on, so we didn't have to think about that. And those are big deals, and I think for so many of us and for our franchisees, that's why they do what they do.
And I think it's interesting that it's more framed for the franchisees on the empathy side, because it's so true. Because sure, when you're like myself, I'm all cuddled in on Friday night, I'm turning on SVU, I was like, who's getting shot tonight? But when
Right?
you add the realistic component to it, especially if you were to put yourself in those shoes, that is something you want professional, you don't want to worry about. And for instance, and this is like completely not even at scale to what you guys do, but I was in the car, and the car ahead of me smashed this dog. So
Oh,
the owner's freaking out, the car person's freaking, or the driver's freaking out. I get out, I'm holding the dog who's now dying in my arms, and I'm telling the lady, like, just, calm down, be with your dog. And then the dog passes, and she goes, can you drive us to the vet? Because I don't have a car. And an ambulance pulls up. I was like, y'all take pets? And they were like, no. So that's just another instance of like, the
right.
last thing she wants to do is now deal with the cleanup of the
Yeah.
situation. And I cannot even imagine that at a much grander scale.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of locations, how many locations do you have?
Yeah. So we have 130 locations, and focused on the contiguous U.S.
Sure.
And so,
And what would draw someone to want to open one? I get the wanting to help people, but I
yeah,
can also see the argument of, you want to help people, why don't you open like a elderly center, because at least they're
hmm
alive. Like, what
yeah,
would draw someone to a bio one
yeah,
hazard type cleanup? And on the other side of not just going like tornado or flood damage, you're going
right.
like to the
Oh
human
yeah.
aspect of it.
Oh, absolutely.
So tell
So
me
we
why.
Right? Well, and it's a big thing. I mean, it's the question we ask people when they're looking at Bio One as an opportunity is this the right business for you? I mean, truly, you are going to see things that most people don't ever see in their life. You're going to smell things that most people don't ever want to smell. But we get a lot of first responders.
Okay.
We get a lot of uh, former military, people who, they recognize the need. They recognize that this is, unfortunately, a growing industry. And for that, they recognize that there's a phenomenal need for it. And so with that, they know that they can also, they need to be able to respond to it. They've seen it.
Hmm.
And but then we also tell people, hey, um, you also have the opportunity to, hire a general manager who is going to do that, and you'll be the sales and marketing side of it. You'll be the relationship building piece of it. But it's a little unique. I mean, even from a marketing standpoint,
Hmm.
most people are like, ugh. I mean, it was the same reaction I had. I'm like, oh, I don't know if that's me.
Yeah.
Do we align like house cleaning bio? I don't know if that's really what I get excited about. But the more you dig into the business model, it's a pretty awesome business model.
Sure.
It's amazing the ability to find people to help. A lot of times it's people who've either been in this industry, or they recognize the need for it, and they like to help people. I've got franchisees who got a couple who are like, hey, I don't want to be out of the suit. I like the interaction I have with franchisees. I like the ability to be able to help them and to be able to comfort them and to be able to support them in addition to the cleaning. So it's interesting. I think everybody has a little bit of a different itch, and it kind of there's a little bit of everything in it.
Sure. Well, I can tell you one thing. Every time I do a podcast, someone's like, "Oh, why don't you buy one of our franchises?" Well, my husband will probably buy any franchise you put in front of him. Like he drunkenly almost signed an FDD with Authority Brands at the IFA a couple years ago. I was like, dude. But yeah, he passes out when he sees blood. So just
Oh yeah, it's a
I was
no-go.
giving birth. I was gonna have a C-section, and he's like, "Oh, I don't feel so good." I was like, "You don't feel so good." I was like, "What, do you have a tummy ache?" So this is probably out of our purview. But that said, which leads me into my next question: is everyone is struggling finding employees? Is it even harder for you guys, or is it not necessarily easier, but is it almost,
Yeah,
relatively stable because it's so niche? You get those paramedics, you get those military.
right.
What is hiring like? Do you have to pay more? Because there's a guy who's famous on TikTok for doing a bio cleanup, and I'm
Yeah,
like, he shows what he has to do, and I'm like, I can't imagine how much
yeah,
you would need to pay for someone to do that
yeah,
regularly. So talk to me
right.
about that.
Yeah, absolutely. You do. You pay them well. You pay
Hmm.
them well. I mean, one, being in a Tyvek suit for hours at a time
Yeah.
with a respirator, it's unique, and so you want to make sure that your employees are well compensated. I mean, it's also there's a mental health aspect to it as well. We talk with our franchisees. How do you help your employees decompress when they've come from a scene that, again, these are tough things, and there are people behind it, and there are stories, and there are families, and there are victims, and so with that, you know, you're looking for people who uh, one have no, they're hard workers, that they're comfortable in a suit. They're comfortable recognizing that there are challenges. We just created a video with one of our franchisees out in Atlanta, and it was a hoarding clean. And Nate is the gentleman, and he regularly talks about the person who came in and how he didn't make him feel bad. He didn't make him feel like, oh, I can't believe you live like this. Like, helping them understand that this happens. This we can take care of this. We can realign your space. It's wonderful to have people like that who recognize, hey, these are collectors. These are people who need help, and it's not just a cleaning service that comes in. So yeah, it is unique. It's unique in the people that you find, and then we want to make sure that we provide resources to them to make
Sure.
sure that they continue to do that. That they do have an outlet to decompress. Whether I was talking to a franchisee who said, yeah, she offers counseling
Yeah.
to her employees, just to make sure that you see that a lot. It's
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because a lot of people witness maybe one or two things in their lifetime, let alone one or two things a day. So I think
every
that that's an
day.
incredible focus that you guys also, you know, coach for your employees through that, and not just a way that's like, hey, on the marketing side, like appeal to their feelings. It's like, nope, this is a foundation of what makes us go,
Yeah.
which is really incredible. When you mentioned hoarding, and a fun fact is that I was actually on the set of Hoarders, the show once, and I went there. Maid Pro was doing the cleaning, and I went to oversee. And a lot of times, I think you watch that show, and you're like, "Oh, if I was there, I would just go in there and throw everything out, and just
Yeah.
you get that satisfaction of like emptying a house." And it's not like that at
Yeah.
all. Like, these are
Yeah.
real people who either have illnesses, or they're elderly,
Yeah.
or they struggle walking, and they just need help, and this is their stuff. And the cleans, Yeah, it's not just like you or me who filled a room with Target stuff that's brand new. It's this stuff that's, we opened that fridge and I thought I was going to pass out, that sort of
Yeah,
stuff. But you just, it's not just cleaning, like you said. It's
right,
really going in there and it's like deconstruction of people's lives and their homes, to really get them to a place where they can
right.
be, healthy again. So, I feel like I could talk to you about this all day. Anyways, talk to me about marketing. Now, I assume the marketing is a bit different because you it's not like someone casually on a Tuesday was like, "Oh, I think I'm going to have Bio One come out," right?
Right.
It's very probably emergency based,
Yeah.
point of situation. Do you work with like police stations and fire stations a lot? What does your marketing mix look like in terms of that
Yeah.
lead generation? And ideally not a recurring service, but is that
Right.
something you guys have to visit on the business side?
So it's interesting. So there are two primary, I mean, we tell them absolutely primary marketing is boots on the ground marketing, right? It's the networking with your local first responders, with victim advocate groups, with coroner's offices, just getting your name out there, because they're the ones that see it. And so from that, the family is like, what do we do next? Most people think that the police clean it up, and
I was just
they're
gonna say that,
shocked.
yeah.
They're shocked to hear that they don't, and they're not set up for that. They don't have the cleaning products, and so being able to have relationships with those groups is very helpful. From a national standpoint, we do some national marketing, so we partner with like the FBI, National Academy Association, and just helping them understand, hey, for people who just getting out to as many of those first responders to be able to help them know there is a resource available. We also, on a national level, participate in like things like Suicide Prevention Month, and being able to really be able to say, hey, we see a lot of this. Here are some resources available to you. Here are some things that you can do. It's interesting. Our franchisees they have such big hearts. And some of them get into this because it's something that's happened to them. It's something that has affected their life. I actually one of our franchisees last week was telling me about, he had a son who committed suicide, and so for him, anytime they get a suicide cleanup call, he goes. He says, I know what they're going through. I've been through it. And then what he's decided to do, he also has said, if you can't pay for the clean, he uses the money that he got from his son's life insurance policy,
Oh,
to pay for that clean. And then for others who do pay for the clean, it goes into that fund to make sure that nobody has to, if they cannot pay for it. Most times homeowners insurance policies cover things like that. But if for some reason they can't, then he wants to make sure that's his commitment to it. It's something he's passionate about. It's something he's close. He doesn't do it to get more business. He does it because this is something that he recognizes and he's close to. And so that relationship he has with those police departments, so when they encounter that, they know exactly who to call. So he's built those relationships there, for something that is just really personally important to him. And then we have fun with coffee with the cops, and donut. We bring donuts and we bring treats for the canine units, and
oh,
so really being able to do some fun things, some community efforts, things like that. But you're absolutely right. We are not something that someone's scrolling through Facebook and says, "Hey, I should call Bio One." But what we try to do is be top of mind so that when something like that happens, they say, "Oh, we see Bio One everywhere. These are the people who need to come and clean."
right.
Or when a child or a family member is scrolling through and they see our ads for hoarding cleans and they say, "I think it's time to get mom some help." And so being able to do that, so you still get your traditional marketing, but then we also have a pretty heavy digital presence as well.
No, do you guys do any like commercial work or anything? Like, do you do like if there's a highway accident or like any type of work in hospitals or like
Yeah.
hospice homes? Do you guys do any commercial work as well?
Yeah. So we've it's not uncommon for us to get a call when there's part of the highway needs to be cleaned.
Hmm.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but we were pretty involved in the Mandalay Bay concert
Okay.
shooting. We had several of our franchisees fly in to help with cleanup there.
Wow.
Um, some of these, like the Orlando nightclub, they reached out to us to consult and to be able to give them some feedback and some recommendations on how to clean that. So it is unfortunate that this is becoming more and more common.
Hmm.
At the same time, we want to make sure that people know that they don't have to take care of it themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is, I'm sure someone who, like myself, in a cute little suburb it's always the, oh, it'll never happen to me type thing, or
Yeah.
it's not, for years. What is a general lead flow like? Because I'm sure a lot of people listening are thinking, oh, they must only get like one or two leads a month, or, what is an
Yeah.
average thing they're looking at so we can kind of get an idea of the scale of it?
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, that's a great question, and so and it's a unique business in because you're right. There's not a lot of recurring business. You're not going to the same house. I mean, unless it's for like I don't know, rodent or rodent feces cleanup or something like that. Ideally, hopefully, you're not going back frequently.
Yeah.
Um, but when you look at it, there are a couple of things. One is quite a few of our jobs that we get for light bio work is handled with insurance, homeowners insurance.
Okay.
Those tend to be bigger, bigger picture pieces. And then you've got hoarding, you've got cleaning season, just like any in residential cleaning, we always knew that kind of spring cleaning
Sure.
was a big deal. And so that same thing for us, it's like kind of spring to, third, fourth quarter is
Okay.
kind of that prime because things start to warm up, things start to
Yep.
smell.
Oh,
And so with that, right, I know they're the things you
yeah,
don't
you
ever
never
think
go.
about,
Yeah.
right? But there is a seasonality to it, and so as we look at it, it's hard to determine, what is an average. One hoarding job could take you weeks,
Mhm.
and so but we have businesses that are just getting started, and they're doing maybe some of the smaller jobs. We do a lot of police car remediation, drug remediation,
Right.
all these things with fentanyl and how dangerous it is. And so being able to help come in and help the police departments with kind of meth, fentanyl, any kind of drug remediation, meth
Right.
houses, things like that. So it's kind of all over the board. You could have a week that's amazing, and then you could have a week that's a little bit slower. And so
Mhm.
we've got some franchisees who they'll send in their numbers, and we're like, "You guys had an awesome week," and they're like, "Yeah, we've got three more big insurance jobs coming down the pipeline as well."
Wow.
And so it is one of those that the more consistent they are with their marketing, the
Yep.
more consistent that will be. But they have to make sure that they are consistently doing the boots on the ground, consistently keeping their pay-per-click campaigns going. I mean, it's the same thing with any business, right? The key is just to make sure that they're doing it and they're keeping an eye on it, and that when they get really busy, they don't forget about it.
Sure. I love that's like the quote of the
Right.
podcast. When you get really busy, don't forget about it. And my final question before I gonna get into our like bonus questions is you are the president. How do you lead your corporate team, or how would you even respond to people who say or are having a hard time with feeling like we want to grow, but in growth comes people's pain. That
Oh,
that sort of thing. How do I not frame it where that I'm exploiting, some people's trauma? So as the
yeah.
president and leader, how would you speak to that?
Yeah, I've asked that question many times, partly because because there is that sense, right? It's
Right.
like, okay, so we have this opportunity to be at this show that focuses on suicide awareness. Well, how do you justify a bio one? We come in when that, we come in after the fact, and
Yeah.
we hope that you never have to call us.
Right.
And so one of the things that we've been doing, and we've been doing this with hoarding season as well, is just being able to provide resources. So right now we've got, I don't know, a huge hoarder's guide, which I'm sure there's a better word for it. But,
Hoarding for dummies.
right, different stages. I think it's the different stages of hoarding, but being able to help people recognize that because we all wonder at what level, like, have I shopped at Amazon too much that my office has maybe a few boxes stacked up, and I don't know why I collect all of those things, but it was easier for me to buy the hair scrunchies in a set of 100 versus two, And so,
Guilty.
right, we all are. And so it's like, what level am I? Do I have these tendencies? And so being able to provide resources like that helps us really focus on, hey, we hope we don't have to come to your house, but if we do, we recognize that there are certain challenges. And these are some things to look out for, and these are for family members who are helping family members who have it. And so with that, same thing with suicide awareness is what resources can we provide? What are signs to recognize? And those are things that we really try to focus on versus we'll come in and clean up if you're not successful.
Got it. Yeah, no, I like that because I think something you mentioned before was an unfortunate growing business because yes, on the corporate side, everyone's bottom line is this is great. This is why people buy into a business because the demand is there. But you're right in saying that you need to make sure that it's right for your franchisees because that empathy, especially for your brand in particular, is the most important thing, and the wellness. So, I think that you are clearly the right person leading the charge and the message is clear. We don't want to grow, but we're there when you need us. And because you're leading with that message, you are the ones that people call in the unfortunate growing business.
Yeah.
So a little bit more on a lighthearted note. I always end with this because I ask it off the cuff and the answers are great. So if you could give a piece of advice to a franchisee, any franchisee, what would it be? And if you could give a piece of advice to a franchisor, what would that be?
Okay, for a franchisee, I know this is, okay, for a franchisee, my answer is always follow the model. Follow the model, the business model. It is why you bought into a franchise. It makes it so that you don't have to be as smart as everybody at the home office team. You are leveraging their knowledge and be engaged with them too. I mean, that is probably the piece probably the biggest mistake I see franchisees make is that they don't follow the model and they disengage with the home office. So then when things are happening and they want to know about it, they're like, what is this? What? I've never heard about this. It's like, well, we rolled this out 2 years ago. And they're like, yeah, we're hearing about this for the first time from this wildly successful franchisee who has been doing it. So in an effort to minimize that, follow the model and be engaged with your home office. For a franchisor, the thing that when I joined 5-Star, there were a couple things that I was looking for. One, I wanted it to be, I wanted a growing brand. Like I want, a brand
you wanted the hustle. You wanted the
right,
hustle.
right. That's what you want. And they're small enough and nimble enough to still make change. That it's not like, oh gosh, we've got 1,000 franchisees. It's really hard to change software or change. So I like that aspect of it. But the other big thing that drove me, that really kind of excited me about the people is that they have solid core values. And so any franchisor, I think it is important to make sure you define what your core values are. But more than define them, you have to live them. You have to recognize team members for them. You have to recognize franchisees. You have to communicate it to your franchise network so that your franchisees are comfortable saying, hey, we know that being real is one of your core values, and I don't think you're being real with me. Like, I love that. I love when people are real and they come and because
Yeah.
it's easy for people to just nod and smile. And
Mhm.
I can't fix or help you if you don't tell me really what's going on. So
Right.
being able, and so we talk about our core values regularly, and when we have with our team here at 5 Star and at Bio One, we talk about our core values and being able to really recognize, we every quarter we recognize team members who have thoroughly exemplified those core values. So it's more than just, hey, we went through an exercise, we posted them, we printed them on some letterhead, and we've got a couple of really great infographics on it. I wanted to make sure that it was truly embraced, and it's how we hire people. Our founder, he interviews every single employee. He's one of the last interviews, and it doesn't matter if they're the accounting assistant to a brand president. And so I appreciate that. It means he's protecting the culture here, and that he's got plenty to do, but it for him, he says, hey, it's important that I meet everybody that's going to join our team. So that, for a franchisor, define it, embrace it, live it, love it. Make sure your employees are well communicated to, and that they embrace it and love it as well.
I love that. And I think it's so true, because a lot of times people preach, this is our mission, this is our core values, these are our beliefs, and everyone who works there abides by them. But at the end of the day, like, people like to get recognized. And if I'm, out here, one of my core values is, full transparency, and I'm being fully transparent with franchisees and they're finding success because of it, like, yes, you should shout me out or shout whoever out, because, that is, not only a positive, way to give back to that employee, but it really encompasses and brings together the community as a whole for, they're doing this to better our brand, our home office, our franchise. Right. And, that's just celebrate everything. I'm on the celebrate everything trail.
Right? Celebrate good when it happens, because we are so hard on ourselves when something doesn't go wrong. And so it's so important. People sometimes say, oh, well, it's not about a participation trophy, and I'm like, these are not participation trophies.
Participation trophy and celebrating everything. And you're right, we are so hard on ourselves. I did something the other day. I either spilled something or wrote something wrong, and I was like, oh, dang it, like, oh. And my daughter from the other room, who's 4, just goes, whoopsie daisies. And I was like, oh. Yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. I can't not fix it. She was like, it's okay. I was like, I guess, oopsie daisy. It's just going to be that. So anyways, I love it. Bio One is doing, the work that nobody wants to do, but is needed to ensure that literally the world keeps going around. Danessa, thank you so much for joining us. If people want to connect with you, what's the best way to connect?
Absolutely. They can email me at Danessa.Itaya, Itaya, at bio1inc.com, or they can just check us out at bio1inc.com.
That's awesome. So yes, check her out. Check out Bio One. Spread the news. Spread the word. I know everyone has a paramedic, a firefighter, probably a hoarder or a beginning hoarder like myself. That you can use to spread the word, because like you said, boots on the ground and networking, and especially in times of need, it's those relationships you lean on, not necessarily the PPC ads. So that's really great. And we will catch everyone on the next episode of The Art of Franchise Marketing.
Thanks for listening to The Art of Franchise Marketing. This show is brought to you by NetCertive. We help franchise brands and multi-location businesses run localized digital marketing at scale. To learn more, visit netcertive.com.